Today on HEAT NYC, we're joined by retired NYPD detective Katrina Brownlee, a domestic violence survivor who turned her own trauma into a remarkable 20-year career protecting New Yorkers. She's worked undercover in narcotics and sex trafficking cases, including a high-stakes sting at a Queens hotel. Her new book, And Then Came the Blues, My Story of Survival on Both Sides of the Badge. Thank you so much for being here this morning.
Thank you for having me.
And we can talk just a little bit about Fantasia. Because Fantasia is not Katrina, and Katrina is not Fantasia.
Correct.
What's the difference?
Fantasia is Fantasia. Fantasia is Fanny. She is, a crackhead, but she's a nice crackhead. And, and she doesn't want to be on crack, but she's on crack, and she wants to just get her crack and go home and smoke it and just enjoy her crack.
And, of course, she is the character of your undercover persona.
Yes.
How'd you come up with that name?
It was one of my good friends. It was her daughter's name. And I needed to have a name that would be, unique, that would kind of, fit into the communities in which I was working. And so I took on a name. And then, some drug dealers, they couldn't, kind of remember Fantasia, so they would call me Fanny or Fanny Pooh. So...
And that's how it happened.
Yeah, just like that.
And it was, how long were you undercover with that particular name or under that particular profile?
5.5 years.
And it got to a point where even within the system of the NYPD, you'd gone... You'd gone deep enough that what happened?
Oh, so my whole identity was wiped out. So I had, because I didn't believe it was that serious. So then I had somebody do some investigation. It was like, oh no, they got you terminated. So I was like, okay.
How do they fix that?
I don't know. I don't know. That's NYPD secretive stuff. I can't give all the good stuff.
Okay, you can't give all. Okay, good. Don't give it all up. What kind of work are you doing when you're undercover as Fantasia?
Well, Fanny did a lot. She did prostitution. She sold drugs in colleges. She sold, she bought drugs. She was a crackhead. She was a person that was going back and forth. She was a huge character. Sometimes she would get off. She was a working crackhead. I started out working in housing. Then I went to FedEx.
It's so interesting. It struck me when I'm talking to you that there's a very separate character and there's me.
Yeah.
Because of what I said was, how long were you undercover? And you said, well, Fanny was this. Did I hear that right? Am I sort of making that connection?
Yeah.
What is that? That's this was a character I had to play. Mm-hmm. Can you talk a little bit about that mindset?
Well, I actually had to really go into character, and live out that, where it had gotten to the point where when I was not even working, I was still in this character mode. And I realized it one time. I was shopping and just doing some crackhead stuff. And I was like, this is really in character,
wow.
And not only that, it was, for me, when I no longer became an undercover, because I went from being an undercover to an investigator. And so when I did that, it took me years for the residue to just come off of me from being undercover, because it's a real character you're playing. Sometimes you scratching and, you blinking a lot and, just paranoid.
You hear actors talk about that sometimes when they're wrapped up in this movie role, and it'll be for 6 months that they're playing this character and they're around all these people who they don't know, and then it's over. And they kind of don't know what to do with themselves when they go home.
Yeah.
Is that what it's like?
It was just like that for me. It was, but I drowned myself into work. So most of the time I was at work. If I'm at 7 days, I'm there at least 6 days, if not 7.
Right.
Just on the grind.
It's not a 9 to 5.
Oh, absolutely not. Because when you're in this character, sometimes, even when I lived in certain places, in housing developments, living there, sometimes I have to go to work for midnight because you can't just buy drugs at one particular time. Like, if you're living there, you buying crackheads buying drugs all throughout the night. So sometimes I would work a midnight to 8 and live in an apartment. And then sometimes I would work 7 to 3, or sometimes I do 3 to 11s. So, and then sometimes on the weekends, you got to work. So it's real, like a real actor's job, I should say.
Why does the NYPD want to do that kind of? I mean, why do they do that kind of work? I mean, why would they? Did they come seeking you, say, "Hey, we think you might be good for this," or was it something you said, "I'm working these cases, and I think or I'm hearing about this, and I think this could be a good thing for me to slide into this kind of situation. Maybe I could go undercover." Or did they seek you out at that point?
Well, one, drugs has always been like an issue in New York City.
Of course.
And if you're trying to solve the problem, you have to be able to put people in there to be able to find out what's going on and get to the root of it and target the people that's putting the drugs in the neighborhood. For me, I made a name for myself in terms of just being very proactive and aggressive in that space. So I think that's what happened for me. And when you got a name, and you can get in there, I'm a black female, that looks like she can fit in these neighborhoods. So let's use her. How about that? And so I went for it.
You're a good cop.
Well, that was always the goal.
Even though, I'm comparing it to Hollywood, this is dangerous work.
Oh, absolutely.
This is life or death work, because if they find you out, especially the drug dealers that you're around, it's not just the prostitution side, but drug dealers, they don't want to have someone who could testify against them and may not think twice with taking somebody out. I mean, is that a risk that comes with that kind of work?
Oh, absolutely. I speak about that in my book heavily, about one of the decisions I made to just kind of like do something different. But then you get burnt out too, like mentally, emotionally, physically, you get burnt out. I mean, it was a time when this is where I really thought that I was going to die. And it was like a real Nino Brown, New Jack City type of setting. And I went in there, and the guy had like rock wallers, like big, like raw. And they sitting in there, and it's like crackheads all around in the room, and it's just smoke from the crack, and he's like sitting in his what kind of chair I want to call it?
Throne, like
a throne chair, like as the king,
a kingpin.
Yeah, but he's sitting up like and I was like, okay, this is the real deal. And I'm very, very early on in this character.
This is Fanny.
This is Fanny. I'm Fanny. And I'm like, okay, this is, now so it went from actual character, now it's like, I got to put in survival mode. I got to go to the street mode from which I come from.
Yep.
Because I come from the streets of Brooklyn, Bed-Stuy. So I had to put all of this in. It wasn't going to just be no Fanny character. This is survival. Girl, you got to get out of this alive. I forgot to tell you, and Fanny was gay.
Why did you want to add that element to her story?
Because the men were actually coming on to me like very heavy, and I was afraid that maybe something bad might happen to me.
Makes sense.
Yeah, so I had to switch over very early on. I talk about that too in the book, about this one incident that made me turn into a gay Fanny.
Of course, the name of the book is And Then Came the Blues, My Story of Survival on Both Sides of the Badge.
Correct.
Both sides of the badge stands out. What does that mean, both sides of the badge?
My time prior to being in NYPD, I had my issues with the police department. Remember me having to call them when I was being abused by my ex-fiance, and them not helping me. And then I wound up getting my own badge.
Both sides of the badge.
Both sides of the badge.
And you just brought it up. your ex-fiance, corrections officer, and you stared death right in the face. An incredible situation where it's an abusive relationship. You've decided to get out of the relationship. You go back to your house. Is that on Long Island? Is it on the island? And you're going to get your stuff? And what happened?
So I left a couple of weeks prior. I couldn't take it no more. It was enough. I'm pregnant at the time, and I was just like, I'm not bringing this kid into this relationship like this. So we spoke on the phone prior, like a week prior to it, and he had agreed that he realized I didn't want to be with him anymore. So he said, but it was all like a setup. But at that time, I don't know that it's a setup.
Oh, it's a setup.
It's a setup.
Okay.
And so we're talking, and he's like, okay, I understand you don't want to be with me anymore, but, you know, we need to learn how to co-parent, you know, and so on and so forth. And I was like, you know, I can't bring this child into this relationship. Like, I'm not doing this anymore.
Yep.
Like, enough is enough. And so he was like, okay, agreed. And we would talk, and that was like the first time that we had ever, like, really talked. Like normal, like having normal conversations. And so I'm thinking everything is good. I had planned, like, I sent my oldest daughter at the time to a play date the night before.
So she's a little kid, though, if she's still going on play dates.
Yeah, she's 7, I think she was at the time, and the other one was 2.5. And so I was like, I'm gonna go get my stuff. I ain't saying nothing. And I'm going to leave. I didn't know, like, what life was going to look like because he was the provider for us. I didn't work. Wasn't allowed to really work. But I said, I'll figure it out. And I went to go get my things, you know, pulled up, tried to go into the home, and he had changed the lock. So I said, okay, it's nothing,
okay.
You know. I've been going 2 weeks. He changed the locks. That's fine. Put the key back in my pocket. It was wintertime. Actually, it was a snowstorm. And when I got into the place, I put my daughter, our room was to the left, the kids' room was to the right. I put my youngest daughter down in her bed. She was asleep. And then I proceeded to go into our bedroom. I pulled out the drawer, and none of my clothes was there. So I'm like, where's my clothes? And when I turned around, the gun was in my face.
Gun in your face?
In my face. And he said, this is the day you die.
And what happened?
And he shot me in my stomach 3 times. Bung, bung, bung. Like, target. They, like, right. It ain't even, like, one sideways. It was bung. Like, it was crazy.
But you're sitting here in front of me.
I am, and I thank God.
What was the result? I mean, what happened? He shot you. You went to the hospital. I mean, what happened?
So, from what I can remember, because I'm in and out at this time. I go and run, like after he shoots me, I'm running now trying to save my life, and he had like locked all the windows and.
So he had a plan.
Yeah, it was just a whole plan to cut the cords on the phone, and it was crazy. And then I'm crawling on the floor just trying to survive, and I'm just realizing, like, this is it. This is it. Like, dag, I'm going out just for clothes. So that's why I always tell people, don't go back for nothing. If you leave, just leave.
Just leave.
It's not worth it. And at the end, I never even retrieved any of the clothes, you see?
Right.
You know, so.
And the doctors tell you, did they tell you that you may never be able to walk again? Did they tell you that? I mean, when you eventually get to
because I didn't know how many times I was shot.
How many times were you shot?
I was shot 10 times.
10 times?
10 times, and I still got 6 bullets on my left side.
To this day?
To this day.
Wow.
Yeah, they was only able to remove 4. And so when I get out, I'm in a coma. And when I come out of the coma, you know, the doctor comes now to give me my official diagnosis, which is you will live, but you will not walk ever again. You won't live a normal life. And I'm looking at him like, nah, you got to be joking.
Yeah, it's not going to work for me.
Yeah, I don't feel my legs, but nah, that don't work.
Right.
Nah, you got to fix that. And it's like, no, this is what it is.
Wow.
And so you got to process that. Like, what about who's going to take care of my children? You know, and now I'm homeless.
I imagine that's when there has to be a level of faith in yourself and God and religion.
At that time.
No, nothing.
Not at that time. I didn't even know who God was at that time. I didn't know. I did not know what life was going to look like.
The recovery, but you're walking and you did over whatever they said you couldn't do.
That's why I said, with man, it may be impossible, but with God, everything is possible.
And this is before you're a police officer.
Oh, of course, yes.
Years before you're a police officer.
Yes.
What happened to the ex-fiance? What happened? What did
he wound up pleading guilty, and he was sentenced to 5 to 15.
How long after that did you decide you wanted to be a police officer?
Years later.
Years later?
Yeah, much years later. Much years later.
Why did you want to be a police officer?
Because one of the reasons, it was a couple of reasons, but one of the reasons, I just really wanted to be a good cop. Like, I had this like, vision that, like, I'm going to come in and I'm going to bridge this gap between community and police, and, you know, everything is going to be fine, and people are not going to be treated like this no more.
It's a good dream. It's a good goal.
No, I really, really believed it. And then when I got in there, I was like, oh, nah, this is not.
More complicated.
Yeah, this is going to take a little bit more than that.
It's interesting. I imagine that part of your approach at that point also had to do with your frustrations prior to this shooting, because when you'd called for help, it felt like you weren't being helped, or you were being ignored.
No, I wasn't being helped at all. Like, I would call a black eye. It wasn't like it was a call where two people just arguing and fighting and you don't know who the aggressor is. No, I have a black eye. And you tell him and me to work it out? Are you serious? And then I call you the second time and I got a busted lip, and you just walk away. Like, I don't understand that.
Do you take those experiences with you when you're an officer? I mean, that knowing that there are these particular situations where maybe it's easy to brush it off, but there's probably there might be people are living with things that you can't see on the surface. I mean, in this case, it sounds like with the black eye, you could see that. But when you're an officer, are you always looking out for that kind of thing? Like, this doesn't seem right. Maybe there's something behind the story here.
Well, for me, one of the things I've always said, I never wanted to be, once I got into the police department, I realized that me being a domestic violence officer was not something that I was going to do.
Why?
One is because I could not really show up for that person in a way. There's no real resources, especially at that time. It wasn't a lot of resources. It wasn't a lot of safe houses for you as a victim. When this happened to me, they sent me to a regular shelter. I'm a DV victim.
Wow.
Why am I in a regular shelter?
Regular homeless shelter.
Regular homeless shelter,
as opposed to, I see what you're saying.
Opposed to being in a domestic violence shelter where I need to be getting some extensive therapy. My children, like, I'm in trauma. I'm in a crisis. So those things were not set up. And I'm not sure if it's really set up in that way now for people that are having these experiences. And I'm like, I don't want to be that person that cannot give this particular person that have been victimized real, true help.
Interesting.
I just couldn't do that to them because I know what it felt like when it was my turn. And it was an awful feeling.
Yeah. By 2001, you are in the police academy?
I am.
How long from then until your Fantasia? I mean, that's 2001. I mean, how long are you?
I became Fantasia early. I became a detective very early in my career, maybe like 2.5 years.
Oh, that was quick.
Yeah.
And one of the notable events for Fantasia was the incident at the hotel. The hotel.
This was years. Now I'm like a master in it now.
And talk to me about this hotel. This is a hotel where it's
until now I'm no longer in narcotics. I'm in Vice. But I still bought drugs when I was in Vice, though. But now I'm a prostitute. And just out there working the streets, someone had told me that this hotel is keep a lot of Johns, a lot of prostitution going on in this particular hotel. And I was like, really?
Where was the hotel?
Right off the Belt Parkway, the Howard Johnson.
In Queens?
Yeah, in Queens. So this is a popular hotel. It's Howard Johnson's. And I'm like, they doing that?
What was happening?
The workers would take money and you can bring prostitutes in, bring the pimps they would have the room set up. It was a whole, it was supposed to be a hotel, but this was a hotel for Johns, prostitutes, whomever to come in and spend money. You pay them and then you get your rooms and so on and so forth.
You get a little money under the table and they'll let you go up there. How did you bust it? What was your role? I mean, how did you take this place down?
Well, so I would go, get my rooms, and so we would use the undercovers to be like my Johns, so they would come in, and so we'd get maybe 3 or 4 that night, so they think I'm working and doing my thing.
And each time sliding something extra to the clerks.
Slide something extra, clerks, security, anybody that was working in the hotel was down. Even the cleaning people was down with it.
Wow. And that I guess that's one example of kind of all this amazing experience that Fantasia had over the course of her time in the NYPD. And you also did something else very remarkable within the department, which was on the detail for the mayor.
Yeah.
Security detail, a bodyguard, in other words. What was that? What happened? How did you get that job?
Oh, well, it was one of the chiefs. I was in community affairs, and he thought I would be a good fit for the detail. I was actually assigned to his wife at first, and then she kicked me off.
You were assigned to, this is Mayor Bill de Blasio.
Yeah, his wife at first.
And you were at first assigned to her detail.
Yeah.
And when you're, just broader, backing up just a second, when you're assigned to that detail, what does it mean? What are you doing during when you're working those jobs?
Well, it's depending on what position you have, right? Because then you have the body, which is who's with him in the car, moves with him everywhere, and then you have the body too. But it's always 2 bodies with him, right? Well, in his detail, because every detail is different, and it's depending on the level of threats that this particular person may have, And of course, he didn't start out with a lot of threats, but as the years went by,
right.
He did. And so I was his advanced one. I would travel with him everywhere he went. So that was my function. I go before he goes someplace, I have to go make sure that security clearance and things like that, and I would bring him in to wherever it was. Mayor
de Blasio, he has been a supporter of the current mayoral frontrunner, which is Mamdani. So he's almost come back into the headlines. But he, in a lot of ways, was not remembered fondly. Let's put it that way, by a lot of New Yorkers. What was your impression of him?
I speak about that also in the book. Well, I'm gonna say this. I thought he was very nice to me.
Personally,
he was nice to me. Professionally, he was nice to me. I never had an issue with him. I saw how he treated other people, and when you see him treat other people not nice, it doesn't mean that he won't treat you. You're not exempt. It's just not your turn. I just never allowed him to even treat me that way. It was always business with him. Yeah, he just wasn't nice.
And leadership kind of...
Oh, he had no leadership. I don't think he thought he had any kind of leadership.
Your time in the NYPD eventually does come to an end.
Correct.
But an organization that you've started while you were in the NYPD continues to this day.
Yes.
Talk to me a little bit about what this organization is.
So the organization is called Young Ladies of Our Future. And I started the organization when I was in community affairs because I just never really wanted another young lady to have experienced what I had experienced. And so I wanted to start some workshops. And so the program was geared to teach young girls about self-esteem, self-awareness, etiquette, makeup, hair day, I should say. Charity, like I have a charity called Katrina Brownlee where I feed the homeless because I was homeless. I go to the supermarkets during Christmas time and pay for people groceries because these are my personal experiences that I had experienced. So I still do it to this day. And so I wanted to teach the girls the importance of that. So it was a lot of different workshops that I did in the organization. But now I've made a decision to take it globally.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, because people have reached out and was like, they're interested
It's been a good response.
Yeah. So I decided that I think it's best that I do that opposed to just being geared to one particular community.
And I imagine that it is extremely important work for you, not only because of your experience as a domestic violence survivor, but also because when you were a little girl, you also experienced abuse in a different way. And it's something that you write about in the book as well.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You kept a journal, you kept a diary.
Yeah.
Can you just talk to me a little bit about how that experience shapes some of the way you approach your work now with this organization?
Well, I experienced, sexual abuse and physical abuse growing up. So a lot of times when the parents are absent, a lot of these things happen. And I was abused also, physically by my mom. But when these things happen and no one is paying attention or nobody seems to care, it takes young women down a very bad way. In a bad path, I should say. And I think that's what happened to me. So if I can be able to offer these workshops, we can unpack some of these things.
Just sort of wrapping up for us, what would you want, maybe a young woman joining the police force, or maybe it's one of the young girls who's going to come through your program. What do you want them to understand about your story that maybe can help them along the way?
Well, one, if they are in a sort of a crisis, I don't want you to normalize that. And two, find someone that you can trust and have conversation with them. And always know that no matter where you come from, no matter what your situation is, that doesn't have to determine your destiny.
Retired NYPD detective Katrina Brownlee. The book is And Then Came the Blues, My Story of Survival on Both Sides of the Badge. It's a remarkable story. It's been amazing to talk to you. I mean, I've heard stories today just talking to you even before we started getting going that I never heard before, and it's just an amazing story. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.